Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Boro TV and the Monday Night Show with me, James Hutchinson. Tonight, I'm joined by Tony Guest, Joe Scott, David Campbell, and we've got Luke Roby with us from Tykes TV. That's the Barnsley fan channel. Welcome to the show, lads.
Hiya, mate.
Evening. Up the bullet.
Good to see you all, boys. Boro fans, what can we say? In terms of the playoffs, it looks like that's it for another season. We'd love to get your reaction tonight. Get in touch with us, not only about Saturday's game down at Oakwell, but what you want to see in the final remaining 5 games of this season that the Boro have got. Any thoughts or questions, get in touch with us. The lads are here tonight. They're happy to discuss anything with you. Remember, this is your opportunity to talk about your favourite club, and we'll also talk about Barnsley tonight as well. So get in touch with us as always here on Boro Fan TV. Right, boys. David, I'm going to come to you first. WrestleMania took place last night. Some people said there was more football took place there than what we saw on Saturday at Oakwell, especially in the first 45 minutes. Do you think Neil Warnock had any other option than to go the way that he did and set up the way that he did on Saturday, or could he have done something else?
I'd like to see us be a bit more expansive with him saying we have nothing to play for, but certainly the performance was flat. We didn't offer a great deal throughout the game, and it just seemed like Barnsley, for me, didn't get out of second gear. They didn't need to, and when they upped it a little bit, they just put pressure on us, and obviously it was a comfortable win for them. People are making excuses, talking about Bettinelli and the goal we conceded. He was at fault. Yes, he was at fault, but let's not get away from how bad the performance was. For the 90 minutes, we had one shot on target with a header from Saville, which was like a back pass. If you're talking in wrestling terms, we were down and out from the off, you know.
Yeah. I mean, Joe, do you agree with Neil Warnock's assessment after the game? And he came out and said a few strange things which people have pulled him up on the next few days or over the last few days, and they've been a little bit concerned about. He said that if George Saville's header, which David mentioned there, if that had gone in, there'd have been no way back for Barnsley. Do you agree with that?
Well, definitely would have changed the game of perspective, you know, because to be honest, when I first looked at the chance, I thought George should have took a touch, and then obviously he would have started in anyways. But I think, I think the whole game overall, the first half, I think was grand from both teams until Barnsley upped the tempo in the second half, and I think we just didn't recover from that afterwards. And I think Warnock even admitted defeat after we got beat by Millwall in terms of the playoffs. So I think it's just in post-match interviews, he's even admitted to more himself that the playoffs are a long way off now. So I just don't know these days regarding Warnock.
Yeah. Luke, great to have you on the show, mate.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure.
Just want to go things like in a Barnsley perspective, really, and just have a look at things. Does it bother you in any sort of way when sometimes people say or label Barnsley as being like vertical football explode and stuff like that? Does that bother you in any sort of way?
See, that's a good question because there is some fans who obviously come on our post-match reactions after the games that do, say that the footballs can be hard to watch, but it gets results. So it's an hard one to be in. I think in an ideal world, me as a fan, I'd rather see us play good football and get results. But quality we've got, money we've got compared to other teams in the Championship, if that gets results, which it is doing, then why not do it? Does it bother me that other fans? No, not really, because I think when you've got manager like Warnock's played this way for years. Mick McCarthy's played this way for years. So no, I think we've just got to do our own bit. I'd rather be up there and not be favourites with everybody. And you know what I mean? We used to struggling in this league, so I'll take this any day of the week. But in an ideal world, I'd love to see football week in, week out. But we ain't got money to splash on really good players. We've got a very, very low budget, punching above his weight easily. I could say that now, but enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, no, spot on, mate. I totally agree with you. Tony, bring you in here. Damon's been in touch, Damon LaRoche, and he said it was a dire performance from Boro at the weekend. Not good enough. Should have played some youth. Now, I know that was tempted a bit because the youth team had a youth cup game on Saturday. But he was just a little bit surprised that the likes of Britta Sombalonga were involved. Do you go along with that, Tony?
Definitely, I was shocked when he even brought him on. I'm shocked that he took him. He did say a few weeks back that we were just going to go for it. Obviously we played Barnsley on Saturday, and they're absolutely flying. But like most games in this league, there was nothing between the two sides in the first half. The first half, if anything, I thought we were the more progressive side than what Barnsley were. But as in other matches where the result really mattered, we fell on the wrong side of the fence. And once again, I've tried to defend him so much since the Brentford defeat, how much he'd improved. But we cannot start next season with Bettinelli in goal. The mistake for the first goal was pathetic. Why do goalkeepers want to stand behind the centre half who's already marking a man, to be pushing your own centre half in the back to move their centre forward out the way and expose the majority of your goal while you stood behind your own man? So when that corner came in from the Leeds reject, I was gobsmacked. Do you know what I mean? And once again, it's cost us 3 points. And that carried on to the second goal, where Fisher made the same mistake as what Bowler did last week. He didn't clear his lines properly, but was the lad frightened to kick it out for a corner because of what the goalkeeper had done 5 minutes earlier? You know what I mean, James? So our back four cannot perform when they've got a clown like that behind them, because he's cost us God knows how many points. He's now cost us more points than what he's saved for us. And to start the season with him, which is looking highly unlikely now, because I think I've read Warnock's, prioritising a goalkeeper now. It's just not on that. He can't be picked. He's got to give that kid from Millwall a chance for the last few games, because all these top teams now aren't shy of changing the goalkeeper. Yeah. Henderson's getting in front of De Gea. The kid at Everton, Pickford, he's in and out because of his erratic form. But he's just kept that number one jersey all season, when, any other manager would have just sat him on the bench. He's an absolute clown. He's costing this club dearly, James.
Yeah. Well, strong views, Tony. I was just going to say here, David, just an interesting point, which I haven't picked up on really before. Rob Henry's been in touch with us. Thanks, Rob. He said, so again, the keepers we're talking about, we basically have 2 keeper coaches, which I think in essence we do, don't we? With Ian Bennett now here, along with Leo Perkovic. Yeah. What's going on? Because the keeper situation just isn't improving, is it, David?
No, it's getting worse. And even, we've been changing our goalkeeping coaches. Ian Bennett came in and said the keepers that we had at the club in the summer weren't good enough. Bettinelli was Warnock's choice, which is frightening, really. I've touched upon it a few times, and I think Bettinelli looked better than he did earlier in the season when we were playing a back five with the wing backs, and a lot of his clean sheets have gone down that way. So when people saying we're highlighting him early in the season, saying we think we got a good keeper on our hands, I just don't think he was tested enough. And now he's getting tested. It just shows how poor of a goalkeeper he is, and the money he's on, he ain't going to come here on that. And let's be honest, I think he's made a rod for his own back now. Boro fans have turned against him. If he then starts next season, fans are going to get on his back straight away, and that'll only end up in a disaster. So I think we are better off going for another keeper.
Well, I was just going to say,
if the fans were in now, James, if the fans were in that Riverside, he'd get tortured both halves, because he'd get it in the south stand and the north stand. And the other thing, James, since we've gone to a rigid back four, and I mentioned it last week, we're losing so much from McNair. Absolutely, there's nobody carrying the ball forward like McNair does when we've got a back five, when he's got the license to come out. The last couple of games, he's been rigid. He's stayed alongside Grant Hall's shoulder, and we're losing so much because of that.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see, Joe, isn't it? Who's the starting keeper on Saturday against QPR? Because I think it'll be probably the end of the road for Bettinelli if he doesn't start. But do you think he should start against QPR, or Jordan Archer comes in?
it's going to be an interesting question, because like you said, I think he wants Bettinelli prioritised for the rest of the season. But in my opinion, I do believe that Jordan Archer does deserve a chance. I mean, I know we only brought him to the end of the season, but if he can show, what he produced before when he was at Millwall, I mean, why not give him a chance? But at the end of the day, I think Warnock said he was only going to prioritise Bettinelli for the rest of the season, which I think will be quite odd. And I know most Boro fans are not going to be happy about that. But going back to the youth setup and why the youth weren't involved in the game on Saturday, I know most of the youth team were in the Youth Cup, and unfortunately for them, they got beat 4-2, I think, by Ipswich. But at least it showed more a bit of spine than to what most of the senior team did on Saturday.
A lot of strong thoughts here. I mean, Luke, you'll be listening to this and thinking, whoa, a bit of a contrast to the club I'm following at the minute. And in fairness, your opening goal on Saturday, Alex Moat, he's had a hell of a season. But he's just one of a number of players. I mean, some people minutes of the last game of the season. Been some transformation at your club over the last 12 months, hasn't there?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you guys, obviously. I mean, I'd not obviously wish, I mean, where difference between us and you guys compared to last season, do you know what I mean? It's unreal. I mean, you guys, I would probably say that Saturday's game were a must win in order to keep your playoff hopes alive. I think, even though it's not mathematically impossible, I'd probably say it's unlikely now. But yeah, what a transformation it's been. Like I said before, obviously we went live to you guys that, there's manager leaving, Struber, nobody really were too fussed on that. And the recruitment side of things has been really good. We've kept older out of contract players. Alex Mowat, you mentioned there, he's out of contract in summer. I heard Boro's commentary team actually, when I watched the game back, because I always watch it back as well, after watching it, but I can watch it back properly and hear the commentary. And I heard for some reason on Barnsley website, it was Boro commentary, and they were eyeing Alex Mowat up for you guys next season. He's out of contract. We're hoping to God he signs. There's a number of players who we need to get tied down. It's going to be interesting for us because we need to. I think it's become more of a we must go up now more than just a dream. I think we've got to go up for the simple fact if we don't, teams like you guys, other bigger clubs will come and pinch these players off us because we'd have to sell them. We couldn't, and obviously players out of contract like Alex Mowat, there's nothing we could do to stop them going. So I think it's become almost we've got to go up to keep this squad together because it might be another 20 years before we get in this position again.
And that's the danger, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's difficult, isn't it, lads? Because in the Championship, you're always prone to, if you go up, well, that's okay, but then you have to change your squad to cope with the demands of the Premier League. But then if you just miss out, you've run the risk of losing some of your better players, and you almost have to keep rebuilding year on year. That's a big worry for you lads, isn't it, Luke?
Yeah, it's a worry. I mean, you think back to when we came up to the Championship in 2019, we sold both as centre-halves, so we're both in Team of the Year in League One, Pinnock and Lindsay. We sold Kiefer Moore. We sold the good core of a squad as goalkeeper left. Captain, goalkeeper left, went to Stoke. So that were a rebuilding job, and that's why we struggled last season. That were a big reason why we struggled. Our board's policy, they've changed it a bit, and look at where we are. But our board's policy was, because I've spoken to one of his owners personally, we had an interview with him back in 2019, and he said if players aren't willing to sign come end of season, they'll sell them. They haven't done that this January because obviously with Mowat, they kept him because I think we needed to keep him in order to keep ourselves going. And I'm still confident he's signed. I just think they were waiting to announce it, but it's not come through yet. but yeah, it would be nice. But we just need to keep hold of him. Do you know what I mean? And like you said, it's a strange one because if we go up, we'd obviously have to sign still. Yeah. If we don't go up, it'll be interesting to see how our board take it. Will we progress from here, or will it be treated as a freak season? I keep asking it to everybody who comes on the channel, on my channel. I keep saying it to people who watch. I keep saying, what do you think the board's perspective is going to be on this season? Is it going to be classed as a freak season, or is it going to be right? We finished in playoffs. We got to final. We lost. let's punch on, let's keep going, let's see if we can get top 2 next season. It'll be very interesting.
Yeah, well,
That's a frustrating part. If you don't make it this year, you'd hope to add a few players and then build on it, but it never works out like that to the other clubs. Then
it's not. No, that's exactly my point. You've got players, I can name a number of players. Mowat out of contract in the summer. You've got players like Callum Britton, a steal from MK Dons, been one of the best players. Michael Ellick, nobody's heard of him, from Poland, come in, been absolutely tremendous. I think he's got like 6-7 goals. He's a defender. Callum Stiles, playing at left back, he's a midfielder. Left wing back, he's been tremendous. DK, who scored second goal, on loan from America. He's got price tags on him of 17 million. Do you know what I mean? If we don't go up, there's not a cat in hell's chance we're going to get him back on loan. So and that's what I mean by it's going to be interesting, because these players that have performed so well are going to have big price tags on them, which us as a club can't turn down at the end of the day if the vultures do come. And it's been. That's life being a Barnsley fan. You get a good side together.
Luke,
yes.
Luke, that's a question. Do you know, don't Barnsley have the richest owners in the championship?
I don't know if they are the richest. We certainly are. I don't know if they are the richest, but they're certainly up there.
I think they're seeing the table sometime during this season about the owners, and I'm sure Barnsley's owners are top of the list. If that's the case, why are you fearing not keeping hold of these players? Because if you get promoted, surely the restrictions come off and you just could make a go of it. Or like you said,
I think it's they are up there. They might be richest. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's a big case, and I think it's one of those things where we have to say, I think the owners are rich, the club isn't. If
so
you get what I mean.
They're not investing then.
They do it. They will invest, and I think Daryl DK, for example, if we were to get to the Premier League, he'd be a big investment because he's 20-year-old. Coming from America, he's scored 8 goals already. You spend the price tag of 17 million on him. A couple more years, you could be looking at 40-50 million. That'd be a massive investment. It's all about the financial fair play thing, and they have invested. All money we got back from players who we sold in 2019, your Pinnocks, your Lindsays, like I mentioned, they were all had 1 year left on the contract, and they weren't willing to sign again, so they obviously flogged them. That caused a lot of upset between Barnsley fans, me in particular, because you can't sell both your centre. I'm sorry, no matter if they're out of contract or not, you can't sell both your centre halves in the same window when you've just been promoted to the Championship, and that's why we struggled. But they certainly invested money back into the side. They signed a lot of players, and we struggled because them players needed time. We signed a lot of players from overseas, Mads Anderson, to name one. There were lots of players came in from overseas. Radlinger as goalkeeper, I thought did okay. He's gone now, but yeah, they did invest that money back. Whether they invested it all, I'm not sure, but they certainly did invest a hell of a lot on players, on big contracts as well, because the board's ultimate policy is get these players, play them, hopefully they develop into better players, sell them on, you know what I mean, pick out, ultimately get gems on cheap, not cheap, because they did invest a lot of money in some, but develop them into better players, sell them on and make a profit. That's my outtake on that.
Yeah. Joe, just mentioning there, coming back to the Boro, it was fair to say that Saturday's game probably followed the pattern of a number of games, probably since Christmas, where they've put a bit of a fight up, they've battled. You can't really criticise a lack of effort, but you can lack sort of game management and letting in soft goals and not creating much of a threat going forward. And that's sort of been symptomatic of the Boro since Christmas, hasn't it?
It has been. I think it fall on that we most seem a lot of the time as well, we lose key players at critical times due to injury. Like, say for Saturday, for example, we can see that we definitely missed Morsey, we missed Fry, we missed Tavernier. All them players out with injury at this critical point of the season. And since Christmas, I think losing players due to injury has been our biggest downfall in terms of our consistency. And so I think it's just a matter of the case of losing key players at critical times due to injury.
Yeah. I agree with that, but for me, I've touched upon it a couple of weeks ago. The biggest disappointment for me is now this is Warnock's team, and we've been abysmal since he's brought in his own men. And I think that's what, for me, is the worrying part. He can't be blaming injuries. He can't be blaming that he hasn't got the players, because this is his squad. The amount of signs he's made, and from January onwards, we have been shocking. Performances, tactical decisions, post-match interviews from him. The club has been shambled and our form has dipped. When he had a smaller squad, we seemed to play well and we were composed and we had an identity. From January, we've had none. And if that continues, Warnock's going to lose a lot of fans very quickly. You can sense it.
You brought Balassi in. You brought Balassi, Cabano, Mendes, Lang, the attacking players that he wanted. And like you say, we weren't brilliant, but we were decent to watch. But since them 3 attacking players have come in, Dave, we haven't been attacking. Simple as. 100%
Guesty. I couldn't agree more. No,
do you think it's an issue, though, lads, when you bring players in on loan rather than players that are actually signed and have got a long-term future at the club?
Yes, but we knew that was going to be the situation. And if he didn't think he could get the best out of them on loan, then he'd have been better off sticking with what he had, in my opinion, because we were playing okay. And he's the one who's made the decision to bring loan players and free transfers and disrupted our season. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Fair point. Bringing it back to you, Luke.
Yeah.
Pellin's been in touch. He said, as a Boro fan, I really wish Barnsley all the best. They've made their fans something to be proud of. But as Boro fans, we need to speak about next season and hope Neil Warnock picks our kids for the rest of this season. We'll touch upon that in a moment, Michael. But as you said there, Barnsley, you've had a fantastic season, Luke. I mean, you're 5 points clear of Reading now in 7.
Mm-hmm.
You now fully expect to make the playoffs.
I don't want to say anything because it could change. You know what I mean? It's the championship. It could change. I'd be disappointed. I'd take any position now in top. I'd take any position because we'd have been happy with staying up last day of season. That's what we expected. And if any fan tells you any different, then they're telling porkies, because that is what we expected. That is what the board would have accepted. I think this has been a freak season. Can we stay there? I think a few more wins is needed. I'd like to win it. All those games left, go into playoffs with some form. That's vital for me. I think going in with some form. We dipped against Wednesday. We lost at home to them, which were always going to happen. But we picked ourselves back up. Great point at home against Reading. And then won at Luton, and then bet you guys. And like you've been saying about the match on Saturday, it weren't an eye-opener. It weren't very pretty to watch. And as I've said when we went live, some of our fans, Steve, who comes on as well, said it. It is hard to watch at times, our football, but it gets results, and it's a results business. I'd say I would agree that if you scored that header in first half, it probably would have been a totally different game. I kept saying it in our live stream watch along. I said first goal in this game is absolutely vital. Whoever gets it wins. I think if you guys had scored, our own form, as good as it is, it's good, but we're miles better to watch away from home. I'll tell you that much, because we seem to play with shackles off. We seem to actually play a lot more away from home. We keep saying, me and my mate, when we do watch alongs when we're at home, it's harder to watch at home. Away from home, we sat back and chilled, and we know we're going to have a good game. We know it's going to be a good to watch. But at home, we just seem to be that a bit more weary. I don't know whether that's because obviously away sides come and they, compact it and everything and try and stop us playing. I don't know. But it took a bit of luck to get that first goal, that corner. It were a bit of luck. And that's what you need sometimes. That's probably a goal that we're going to break deadlock if out in that game, because like you've said, there were no between us much really. I think once we got that, then we upped his game. But I think it took a bit of luck.
Listening to your commentary team, Luke, to your commentary team, hasn't he hasn't he tried that all season? Corners similar to that.
Yeah, he's been putting them on. I mean, it's nice to see us actually have some good set pieces. To be fair, because Mowatt's set pieces especially in League One. God, we used to get corners in League One, and you just knew they were going straight to goalkeeper, and that were Mowat. And so it's nice to see his set pieces have come on tremendously. Putting them on goalkeeper, which is where it's such a good place to put them. And yeah, I mean, some were saying it were worked on that. Who I spoke to, they were saying it meant it, but whether it did or it didn't, it certainly needed a bit of luck.
Yeah.
The way your commentary team were talking, I know that they go a bit biased on the BBC, but it sounded to me as if he tried that a few times this season. But you say,
putting them on keeper, yeah.
That was all to do, that was all to do with our goalkeeper. That first goal was an absolute, like you say, it was. That game could have went either way like you said, till that first goal went in, and that was all down to one man, and that was the goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? And when you, no matter how many times you watch it, the length of time he spends stood behind Paddy McNair, it's unbelievable, unbelievable.
Yeah, we were questioning what happened to goalkeeper, honestly, and I half expected ref getting a foul because whenever there's a bit of pushing and shoving, the blow the whistle straight away. But yeah, I think it was just a bit of luck that we needed at time. And I keep saying this, luck seems to be weird, and I keep saying could it be our year to do it? Because I don't know if you've seen that Lucas João miss against Reading at Oakwell. When that were at 1-1, you know what I mean? We lose that game. That's a point less, you know what I mean? It were a massive point that against Reading. That were a game we couldn't lose. And I think both sides, it were a must-win on Saturday for you guys and us. And luckily, obviously for us, we got the 3 points, and we move on to Coventry on Sunday for us. Another big game. Yeah. They're fighting to stay up.
Yeah, I take on board what you're saying there, Luke. But what I'll say from a Boro point of view, David, is we set them up as 3 big games: Bournemouth, Watford, Barnsley. We've taken 1 point from those 3 games. We lost to Millwall before that as well. So that's 1 point from 4 games. And I think that's shown how short of the mark we are this season in terms of being a top 6 side, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. It's been very disappointing, especially when we knew how big that week was. Guesty touched it upon earlier. I think it's how we've been beaten and performed in those games. If we'd have gone out and attacked and got beat, you could have said, well, at least we've given it a go. But we haven't shown anything offensively or defensively, have we? We've been the masters of our own downfall, you could say. And for me, that's what's worrying as a fan, because he gave us all this spiel saying we're going to attack for the rest of the season now, and we've just been easily beaten all those games, including Millwall. And that's very disappointing. And it just, like you highlighted there, James, it shows the difference between us and how far we are actually away from the top 6, because the inconsistency is vital in this league. You need to get a bit of consistency, and we haven't over the course of the season.
Yeah. And Tony,
at the end of the day, Barnsley and Middlesbrough, both us we were a bit safer than what Barnsley were, but both teams just avoided relegation last season. Yeah. So whatever happens now this season, both teams have progressed. You know what I mean? But since Christmas, it's been, as a Boro fan, it's been woeful, absolutely woeful. How can you bring a team like Watford to the Riverside and keep them to a 1-1 draw when they're wiping the floor with everyone? Then go to a Barnsley side, they've built the momentum up and they're flying, similar to what Sheffield United done a couple of seasons ago when they went up. And it was, I honestly don't know what we work on in training, because there doesn't seem to be no pattern. There doesn't seem to be no theory behind anything that we do. It's just absolutely dreadful, James. There's absolutely, the midfield gets missed out, which I don't mind in some games, but when you see a game like that, which we could have came away with 3 points, like Luke said, if Saville puts the header in, it's quite difficult in this league to come from a goal behind. And it's just not worth paying the tenner to watch it. And one of post-match interviews and his team selection and his substitutes have a lot to be desired for the last few weeks, because he needs to be careful, because the knives are getting sharpened for him, James.
Interesting.
Interesting what you said earlier about away form. We've touched upon this season, haven't we, where we thought we played our better football away from home early on in the season, should I say. And I remember Barnsley in the cup, they tore us apart, didn't they, the other side early on in the season. I thought they played some really good stuff.
And I think that were under his previous manager, Gerhard Struber. I think that would probably highlight until he left that win. And then we went. We wouldn't have been too fussed if we'd have gone out in that. And then, but you guys bet us in league, which were miles more important, and we were woeful that day though. It's absolutely woeful. I think it finished 2-1. We've got a penalty late on. Absolutely awful. That's how we were back then. You know, similar listening to you guys now, that's how we were beginning at season. We couldn't get going at all. And then obviously new managers come in. We've recruited a few players. I think January's signings for us, DK and Carlton Morris, have been two massive signings, much needed, because like we said, this long haul football, whatever you want to call it, that we were playing it with Cauley Woodrow, who's not that type of player. We needed to sign strong, big strikers, and we got two in Daryl DK and Carlton Morris, who have hit the ground running. And I think if we'd have not signed them, I don't think we would have been where we are. I think they have come in and been the hit ground running, which is what we needed them to do. But we certainly needed them for this style of football. And it's a shame, you know, some fans calling Cauley Woodrow out. You know, he's not been as brilliant as he were last season. But then again, you got to look at football we play as well. We've got Connor Chaplin, who were in double figures last season. I think he's got like four goals. I could be wrong. He's not got many. Woodrow's have been majority of them have been penalties. You know, they both were in double figures last year, and they've not performed as well this season. And I think that's a lot down to the style. But like that style's still picking points up. So
it's horses for courses, isn't it? I mean, Boro, in terms of the
going back on that game, Luke, I think it was Struber's last game in charge before he went to the MLS. Do you think that was players' minds when he came to the Riverside?
Yeah, he should have gone. I mean, he should have gone way before that game. We knew we were going. It was speculated for a few weeks. He should have packed his bags and just gone. You know, how you can prepare a team to go away from home or at home when you know you're going and show any enthusiasm or care. He should have gone. We all knew we were going, and there weren't many fans too bothered about it. It was all about getting the right manager in, and I'll be honest, you know, hands up, Valley and Ishmael, when he came in, it was like, oh, who's this now? Do you know what I mean? Because we, you know, we'd crawl on hands and feet for somebody at that time, for somebody like Warnock with that experience. Because that's what I said. I did a rant after that game, and I said, you know, no decent manager will come here. Seeing on that with the recruitment, how we did it, but the board have proved a lot of us wrong. They've done a lot right this season, which is what we asked for: a bit of good recruitment, keeping all the players. But like, I didn't expect this from Valley and Ishmael, but you know, it's been brilliant since he's come in, and you know, we'll happily eat his words for you know, stuff we said. But at the time, you know, it was poor. It was poor football.
Yeah. And Tony mentioned there, David, about the knives possibly being out for Neil Warnock, and there's one or two people getting in touch here tonight. Stephen Marham, am I the only one who doesn't want this manager in charge next season? Do you think there's maybe some sort of opinion or groundswell of thought growing in that sort of direction now?
A lot of people who I'm speaking to are starting to turn, and that's very worrying. And it's all come from January onwards, and I think we all want it to work next season. We've been hopefully his final season and giving him the send-off he deserves. But is it going to be another wasted season if we do? And I think if you look at it January onwards, how can you argue with that? How can you argue with him staying? We know he's going to stay in charge next season because it's the Gibson way. Gibson won't get rid of him. but it could turn very sour very quick inside that ground. And yeah, I didn't want him last season because I wanted to sit a manager who's going to be in for 3 or 4 seasons and put plans down. And it just seems like we're going from season to season, different plans, but with different managers, stuck with players. And I worry. I do. I don't know what you guys think, but I do worry.
What worries me, James?
Nasty.
What worries me, James, is we've had this, for the last few seasons now. We had Steve Gibson come out saying he was going to smash the league, which did not happen. The end of that season, we reached the playoffs and we got beat by Villa. And then you've got our manager then, Tony Pulis, saying he knows what it takes. He knows what he needs. He knows what it takes to get us out of this league. And now we've got Warnock using the same spin. And I know for a fact that type of talk, it's going to put bums on seats in the Riverside next season, fair enough. But really, I've been reading the comments here. There's still a lot of people putting a lot of faith in them words, which the manager's speaking, and they need to tread a bit more cautiously because this club, the players that's going and the players that's staying, that's if we keep all the Dale Fry, Tavernier and McNair. It could be a completely different squad, different starting 11 at the start of next season.
Yeah. James, you touched upon something a couple of weeks ago, didn't you? Before we went live, and you reckon Gibson might have a go and back him financially, and I agree with you. I think he will. Yeah. And I think we're all just pinning on our hopes on he gets it right. But if you go off the past 6-7 seasons, it's hard to get that confidence, isn't it?
I think it's difficult.
We're not going to go.
I was just going to say, it's like you can't underestimate how difficult it is, though, to get out of this league. It is probably one of the most brutal leagues in the whole of Europe, the Championship. And I think from a Barnsley point of view, you lads should just enjoy this year and make the most of the opportunity that you're going to have ahead of you, because we've been hoping, I think, since we came down 4 years ago that this is going to be the year, It's not worked out, and I think if you get the opportunity, you've just got to go for it, haven't you, Luke?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, we're thinking about it other day. We sort of reminds us of Blackpool back in 2010 under Ian Holloway. That sort of team, good team, playing strong football. Just enjoy it while it lasts. Like you said, if you can establish yourself there in the Premier League. I mean, I was talking about it yesterday with somebody. Championship's probably one of the best leagues in the world, if I'm honest. I think about Premier League sometimes. I think, God, do we want to be there? We've got VAR absolutely ruining football. You've got Friday night kickoffs. You've got Sunday, Mondays. You know what I mean? Give me a Saturday and Tuesday any day at week. Forget playing Sundays. It's bloody crap. And Mondays. But listen, we'll take it. We'll get there, and if we get there, it'll be amazing. We've not been there since 1998, and I was 4 at the time, so I don't remember any of it. And I just certainly don't remember playoff final in 2000 either, where we lost to Ipswich. So this is unreal for me, being in this position with 5 games left till end of season. It's unreal. And like you said, we'll just enjoy it while it lasts. But listening to you guys, obviously, I've listened to you mentioning about players who don't necessarily want to be here. I think this is a big thing with Barnsley that, forget like when we don't get linked with these bigger players because the wage demands and everything. We're not, as much as we sometimes say that our board might not pay wages, blah blah blah. I think as well that they're not mugs in the sense that, somebody like, I don't know, Britta Sombalonga, for example, is not pulling many trees up this season for you. That sort of players, the players that you guys mentioned that don't really want to be there, they're ones that our club would be like, right, we'll go then. Do you know what I mean? Not mess about. Get players in who'll give 100%, who might only be on £1,000 a week, but they'll run through a brick wall for manager. That's what we need, and that's what we've got at the club, and that's a big reason why we are where we are. And it's nuts. You look at them other 5 in playoffs, how much in wages they pay compared to us. Our highest earner might be £8,000. And some of theirs might be 30, 40. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Tell you what, during that 97-98 season at Barnsley, he did have one good player in your ranks at the time, and that was John Hendry.
Oh, John Hendry, yeah, he's good, very good player and manager for us, John Hendry. He was manager for a spell as well. Yeah, like I said, it's a shame I can't remember them times because I'd have only been 4, and you know I didn't start going to football till I was like 8, 9, so till I was old enough to understand what were happening. But yeah, John Hendry, we had him, good player. Craig Ignat as well. Were later on, I think 2000 he played in playoff final, made his debut against Huddersfield in that 7-1 win. I think he got a brace and missed a penalty for his hat trick. I think he played at Boro, didn't he, Craig Ignat? Yeah. We've had a good squad. Yeah, we've had some great players over years. You know, it's never a dull moment being a Barnsley fan. I will say that it's never dull. There's always something happening.
David, just coming back to the Boro and the manager situation. Mikey Brown's been in touch, and Mikey Bourne, he's been in touch, and he said, sounds like the seed's been planted in a few fans' minds with regards to Warnock and his capabilities. These are the same fans who echo managers don't get enough time. Is that a fair point?
Mike, he's 100%, but that's the same at every club, isn't it, these days? That's the way football is ruled because of money. Gone are the days in the 90s where managers were given time through a bad period. Money dictates, so that's not the case now when fans get impatient. It's expensive to follow a football club, so you want to get your value, don't you? You're not paying £35 a game to go watch rubbish football. So I can understand why fans do turn on managers quickly. Whether you agree with it or not, that's just the way modern football is, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's fair.
A friend of mine started the debate a couple of weeks ago on Radio T's, saying he's not bothered how the Boro play. He just wants to go to the Riverside and see the Boro win. He said he's not.
Oh, I've lost Tony there. I'm going to let you go in a moment, Luke. We're just going to finish off on the game on Saturday. You've been really generous with giving us 40 minutes of your time here tonight.
Not a problem.
Is it bittersweet for you in a way, the season that you've had, and it's been fantastic, that there's no fans inside Oakwell to enjoy it?
Yeah, it's hard, to be fair. I mean, but like I said before, we went live as well. You think it could have been different if fans were there. You know what I mean? It could have been. You think I'm sat here saying away from home we've been better to watch. We might not have been with fans there. You think fans there put pressure on the away players, pressure on referee. They always favour home side, no matter what anybody says. Away from home, you know, we might have been different, and we might have been better to watch at home. Do you know what I mean? That could be a reason why we're not as good to watch at home as we are away. We'd have wished to have been there. I mean, we'd have been there. We'd have been at every game. But it's still nice to see where we are. And listen, if we get up to Premier League, you know, hopefully, you know, by August we're back. And we can go home and away. You know, it's going to cost a fortune in Prem because no, it's cheap. Costs a fortune as it is going home and away, but it's what we do. And we've missed it. You know what I mean? We've missed it, and it's been like over a year, which is nuts. Thinking about it, it's been over a year since last football match, and it were Reading away, so that weren't a good one. That is a bad away day. That
it is. Yeah, at the best of times, it's not great going to the Majestic. I'll tell you that, mate. Definitely.
Yeah. Reading's just there's a few I can name. Reading's up there. Reading's by far worst in Championship, by far. It's no disrespect to Reading as a club. It's just an horrible place to get to. Unless you're driving, you'll be all right. But we go on train a lot, and I've never gone to an away game where you've gone on train. You're in pub till like 2:00, and then you have to catch a bus to the ground. That's how because it's out in middle of nowhere. Yeah. So yeah, Reading definitely, but yeah, listen, like going back to what you said, you know, hopefully, you know, all been well, we can go on, and you know, even Warnock himself, I heard him at full time said, go on, get up now, which is good. You know, he's always praised Barnsley, and like, you know, obviously it's different when he's your manager, but for us, you know, for me personally, I've always liked him as a manager. I find him a character game needs sometimes.
Well, look, an absolute pleasure having you on tonight. I'm sure all the lads will join me. I know there's a lot of Boro fans that have been in touch. that are
Yeah.
wishing our club the best of luck for the rest of the season, and
Yeah.
hope you do well in the playoffs if you make it there, and if not, might have the added bonus of bumping into you again at a ground next season.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. You never know. We might still be here next season, but we'll enjoy it while it lasts, and that's another good thing as well. That a lot of clubs now that I see, you know, a lot of fans are saying they're wanting Barnsley to go up because we're underdogs, blah blah blah. So it's really nice to see. It's really nice to see a lot of other clubs wishing as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hope we can do it. And I go into every game, especially with our defence, you know, thinking we're going to be solid. We're going to win this one. So hopefully, you know, we can keep it going. And that's the thing. I mean, you mentioned earlier, just before I go, about the consistency side of thing, where Boro's struggled. You know, we seem to have been consistent, and that's something you do need, and we've done that. If you look at our results, we went on a massive run, lost against Wednesday, then came back, drew, and then we've won as last two. Yeah. We've got to go on and win. We've got to beat Coventry now. We've got to beat Huddersfield. We've got to win them all, if you ask me, because we've got teams breathing down us next. So yeah, but like I said, pleasure for having me on, and it's really been really good to be able to give me a view with you guys.
No problem, mate. You take care of yourself and enjoy the rest of the season, mate.
Cheers, mate. All the best. See you later.
Take care.
See you later, guys.
Right, lads, we'll move on from Barnsley now. Before we look at the QPR game, there was some big news last week, Tony, involving the Boro. And it was obviously the news at the two England games, the warm-up games for Euro 2020, going to get played at the Riverside. What was your reaction to that?
Couldn't believe it. Of all, like you say, whether it's the Gareth Southgate factor, I don't know. But of all the grounds around the country to be, you know, they could have picked. Obviously, they've got the magnificent facilities up at Airworth, and then these players are going to have the pleasure, who's never played there before, of playing at one of the best grounds in the country, at the Riverside. So, yeah, I was shocked. You know what I mean? I've had Leeds fans telling me it was going to go there. It's just because, you know, they've had the pitch dug up. But I don't. It's great news for the area. It's great news.
It is, yeah.
You know, it's a shame. It's a shame for the likes of Lee. If fans are allowed in, you know, it'd be absolutely fantastic for Lee to go watch England in his own stadium. You know, he travels everywhere to go watch him.
Yeah. You
know, for people like that, who follow England religiously, but it's absolutely massive, and it's as a Boro fan, I was absolutely buzzing to find out that the England team's coming here. It's one of them occasions where if you can't get in, you still go.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about yourself, David or Joe. Have you been to any of the games that have been at the Riverside in the past involving any of the England representative teams or anything?
Yeah, I have. When Slovakia came here, I think it was 2004, I believe. I was fortunate enough to get a ticket for that day when England won by 2-1. I think Slovakia took the lead first, and I think Slovakia had Zilad Nemeth in the team as well at that time. I think it was a player called Vladimir Janocko, I think, who scored a fluke of a free kick, I think, to put Slovakia in front. And then in the second half, I think Michael Lloyd scored twice to give England the win that day. So I was fortunate to attend the Slovakia game that was played at the Riverside back in 2004. I think the last England game I did go to was one before the World Cup against Costa Rica at some little ground somewhere in Leeds. So that's the game I've been to. But yeah, the Slovakia game at the Riverside was definitely a good memory.
I think, if I remember rightly, Tony, we did well to get out alive that night.
Yeah, I tell you what, that was a difficult night interviewing them Costa Rican fans.
Not as difficult as interviewing the Leeds fans, mate. Oh, happy memories. We'll get on to the QPR game now, boys. David, I'll come to you first. Obviously, the dreams of the playoffs have gone for this season. I think that goes without saying. But how important still is this game on Saturday against QPR?
It's important that, in the respect that you want to carry a bit of momentum into next season. But I just want to see players who want to be playing next season. I don't want to be seeing the likes of Sam Blockinger and Fletcher coming off the bench. He's bought Balassi and he just hasn't given him a run. So that indicates to me Balassi's already said he's not staying next season. That'd be a massive shame because I think Balassi could tear this league apart. But I don't want to see people playing who aren't going to be there. But we need to get a few wins to get a bit of confidence in Warner again from the fans because, like Guesty said, the knives are really sharpening. Get a few wins and hopefully it gives us a bit of confidence going into the next season because if we end the season on the back of another 3-4 defeats, it doesn't start well for next season.
Yeah, I said, we've got 5 games left, and obviously in those 5 games, we've got 2 teams that have got nothing to play for that we have to play in QPR and Luton. And you think of the other 3 games, we're up against teams that are going to struggle to fight for their lives in this division, like Rotherham, Sheffield, and Wycombe. Might just say Wycombe will probably be down by then, but you mean after looking at them 2 games, possibly against QPR and Luton, you have to win them, and obviously the 3 games are going to be important as well, but they're going to be battling hard, to stay in the league. So I think the 2 games, like I said, you have to take advantage of against teams that have got nothing to play for now this season.
Totally consistency from certain players as well. We know McNair's been consistent, Bowler has, but the likes of Saville, he's been inconsistent throughout the season, and so has Howson. I'd love to see those players just have a good 3 or 4 games just to build a bit of confidence for the fans again, because when fans start turning against certain players, it rubs off throughout the ground.
Just going to say, Tony, there a few people have been in touch about getting the youth players involved. And in fairness, Neil Warnock did mention after the game on Saturday that Josh Coburn will be probably involved in some capacity. And the midfielders, the academy midfielders, Aidan Hackney and Connor Malley, they're probably going to play some part as well in the next few games. Do you think that's the way to go for the next few matches, Tony?
Yeah, well, we've got to find out what they're like, James, don't we? We've had it with Tav, we've had it with Dale over the last few years. It's coming in, the youth. But as Boro, when we've had a bad defeat or things aren't going our way in certain parts of the season, and it happens at every club where they say give the kids a chance. You can throw the under 23s in like someone's just said there. It just doesn't happen. And if these 3 lads are going to be involved, I'd like to see the lad who's playing up front. Is it Coburn? I'd like to see him start. Yeah. But I think the others, I think the other 2, I think maybe they'll get their chances from the bench. You know what I mean? So, like you say, give youth a chance. How long have we put up with Jed Spence this season? It's you know. Yeah, and us as Boro fans, they'll most probably set the world on fire. Then by Christmas next season, we'll be trying to get rid of him to Hartlepool. You know what I mean? So
you wouldn't even get an Hartlepool's team, Jed Spence.
Yeah. Ooh, you're not doing a hard job even if we're trying to get some money for him in the summer, David.
Yes, I think Connor Malley's been out on loan at Carlisle. I think for the first half of the season. I think so. If we're more likely to shift more of experience into the last couple of games, but I think you look at players like in the academy, like Sam Flahaman, for example. I mean, after the Brentford game, he spent most of it in the under-23s. And Joe Duggan said there, I mean, his assists and goals ratio for the last couple of games has been good for Sam Flahaman. So I'm surprised that Warnock hasn't put him in the first team selection. It's a first team contention recently.
Yeah, do you think it's just he's worried that? Yeah, does he think he's maybe worried that they're not ready enough to play in the Championship? Or as Tony says, when are you going to find out? When this is probably the ideal opportunity to play some of these lads, David?
I was just going to say exactly what Tony said, and I couldn't agree more. When we've brought youngsters in throughout the number of years, we've usually brought them in one by one, haven't we? We don't want to be bringing 4 in at once and putting loads of pressure and don't have experience around him. When Danny Graham came through up front, he was surrounded by experienced players. Same with Downing, same with Johnson. And I think, as much as we'd like to see Coburn give a chance to and Hackney, we just need to be mindful of not throwing them all in at once because you could ruin their careers.
So, lads, with all that in mind,
it's escaping me at the moment. Who's the kid who's out on loan? Dean Gordon's son. Wood. Like you say, we were all screaming for Wood. We were all screaming for Wood to get a game. And he absolutely embarrassed himself the last, when he played in the 2 league game. And Warnock shipped him out on loan. Maybe somewhere down the line he is going to be a good one. But, it's a different level for these kids moving up.
Yeah.
With all that in mind, then, lads, predictions for the home game on Saturday, QPR. Come to you first, Joe.
I think QPR, they've only lost 1 in the last 5, so I reckon it's going to be a tough game anyhow. If we can keep the likes of, the likes of Charlie Austin, the likes of Lyndon Dykes, Ilias Chair, or even Uncle Albert, for example, because the dome is there at QPR, even though it's mostly been on the bench. If we can keep them occupied, I think we've got a good chance. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 Boro win, I think, this one.
2-1 Boro. I think Charlie Austin's still suspended at the weekend. I think he's got a 3-1 ban made, but still Dykes came in at the weekend and got 2 goals. So he's going to be one to watch. Another player that we've been linked with in the past, Tony. I mean, 2-1 Joe's gone. Do you see a home win on Saturday?
I'm going for a 1-1 draw, James. You know what I mean? Both teams have pretty much nothing to play for. I'd like to see an entertaining, attacking game, but I can't see us. There's just something not there at the moment, James. Like I say, there doesn't seem no pattern to the game. Players, like you say, if we play back 5 and McNair's allowed to get forward, I'd go for the win. But obviously, we don't have the squad to play a back 5, so I'll go for a 1-1 draw, James.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad to hear, actually. I can almost hear it in your voice, Tony, that you seem almost as though just resigned that this season's just limping to a finish, and it's just like you can't wait for it to end. Is that how you feel, Tony?
Yeah, because when you think of it from the Premier League, getting relegated from the Premier League, even the 2 seasons before we went up, we were involved in every game to the end of the season. We went down from the Premier League and we've been involved in either a promotion battle or a relegation battle from the 3 seasons that we've been down here. This season's the first season for a while where us as fans, we haven't been on the edge of our seats. And like you say, the sooner it ends, the better, James.
Yeah. David, yourself. So we've got a draw from Tony, home win from Joe.
I'm actually going the same as Guesty. I'm going 1-1. I can't see anything in the game. QPR, there was nothing in the weekend, but they went out and attacked. So I'm going to go 1-1 if we're lucky.
Right.
It'll be a preview for them because I think they play Rotherham tomorrow as well.
Yeah, they have got a game midweek. Yeah, so I mean, all things considered, lads, where do you think we're probably going to finish up this season? I think we're somewhere between 8th and 12th. We're 10th at the moment. Do you think that's probably, Tony, a fair reflection on our season? See if we did finish 10th.
If we finished 10th, we've definitely punched above our weight, especially with the squad what we started the season with, James. I think what was it, Joe? I think did we go 11 games unbeaten at the start of the season when
we did,
Warnock was the manager of the month and things like that, and it just give everyone a lift. But since, like Dave said, since Christmas, it's been poor. Whether it has been the loanees coming in, I don't know. But if we finish 10th, James, as a Boro fan, when you look back and you see that you'd finished 10th that season, and the season before you'd nearly been relegated, it's a success, really. So you can't complain at that. Yeah. Even if we finish 12th, it's an absolutely outstanding season.
Yeah. I said at the start of the season when Warnock took over, I think if we finish in the top half, regardless if we reach the playoffs or achieve promotion or not, the top half finish come the end of the season, compared to last, I'd say that's an achievement in itself for the club from where we were last season.
Overall, though, there's got to be disappointment there, though, because there's been a lot of... You talk about inconsistency and injuries and stuff, but there's been a lot of strange decisions made that we've made over the season, and that goes to one man for me. Yeah, the 11 games was really good, and we all got hyped up, but there's been a lot of strange comments that's planted the seed, hasn't it? I found.
Do you think, though, David, he's like a victim of his own success in the first half of the season, and that we probably way overachieved before Christmas, and hopes rose that we were going to make the playoffs this year, and then since Christmas it has gone downhill, and people are that disappointed now that people are saying, well, is he the right man in charge? When, as Joe said at the start and as Tony said, I think most Boro fans realistically were thinking this season, if we finish midway, maybe just above midway, that's going to be a good season. Yet now people are saying, well, I'm not happy with this. So is he a victim of his own success?
100%. But he's never come out and said we're going to reach the playoffs. He says, at the beginning, he said, I want to reach the playoffs, but I know how hard of a task it was. And then when we were doing well, he was saying, I want to reach the playoffs. It's just the inconsistency of his interviews. And I think that's what's frustrated part of the fans. Because it was like, oh, we want to go up, but we're nowhere near. And then when we were doing well, it's like, yeah, I didn't come here to waste the season. I want to go up. And that hyped it all up for us fans. And then when we hit a down patch, he then went to 360 and said the complete opposite, saying, well, we always knew this season was going to be a struggle. And I think when you're mixing with fans' emotions like that, it does end flat. And I think that's why we're all in the position why the season's ended flat. Now, I mean, that's what I personally think. I don't know about you guys, but that's what's frustrated me.
Don't know. Do you want to have the last word, Tony? Do you want to come in on that?
No, like you say, there's nothing left to play for this season. There's players, like Warnock said, playing for contracts, but we know what footballers are like. You know what I mean? They'll go away on the beats. They've all got agents, and they're hoping that they're going to move on and find a better deal in a bigger club. But like I've said all along on this show, they want to be careful what they wish for, especially the likes of Britt. Yeah. And if Fletcher's going to go as well, you know, they could be in for a massive shock. All you have to do is phone the mates up, Shotton, and the other fella down in Australia to find out how their careers are progressing.
Don't you think, guys, though, that every summer is a massive summer for this football club, and isn't that an issue?
I don't think it's just summer, right, David. I think it's most football clubs now, they're in a constant state of flux, and I think that's all down to the money, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's just we seem to be saying, oh, we need to make sure we get these signs right this summer. And it's like we've said that for the last 7 or 8 seasons. There just seems to be no consistency.
I've had 2 decent summers as a Boro fan. Was when we brought Emerson in and Ravanelli. They were unbelievable signings. And then the other time it happened, I was in Cyprus and we signed Hasselbank and Viduka. They were just dream times, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was sat on this beach in Cyprus and I gets a message, we've just signed Viduka and Hasselbank. You know, just to go back to something like that, to get the hairs on the back of your neck. You know.
It was similar to when we got Ziga and Paul Inson that summer, and I thought, wow, that's massive for this football club, but being those 2 guys in.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's asking a lot to get players of that calibre, but you don't know what rabbits Neil Warnock and Steve Gibson will pull out the hat this summer. Fingers crossed we'll get some quality in for a promotion push next season, lads. Unfortunately, everybody, that's our time up for this week. Many thanks to David, Joe and Guesty and Luke Roby from Tykes TV. It was fantastic having him on board with us tonight. Hope you've enjoyed the show. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to Boro Fan TV. We'll be back next Monday, looking back on the QPR game and ahead to games with Rotherham and Sheffield Wednesday. Until then, have a good week, stay safe, and up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.